Hi there everyone, it's Leslie Rogalski, Creative Director for the BeadSmith, with another Facebook Live. Now this is a very tidied up version of my bead mat. I cleaned up for you, like you're cleaning for company. And what I want to show you today is how I play with my beads. One of the questions that designers always get is, how do you come up with ideas? And the answer is, you have to play with your beads. So when I have new beads and new components, then I just put them together and take them apart and put them together and take them apart and try this and try that and play what I call the what if game. What if I put things together? What if I can use different beads? Hello Leslie and hello Stephen, thanks for watching. So right now, I thought I could zoom in a little bit on this. There we go. These are absolutely stunning, stunning backlit Ginkgos. Look at these. Now I posted this a few days ago. Before it was sewn together, I had just pushed the beads together and started to play with it and got a great reaction, and I'm pretty sure that it's a combination of the color. Look at this. This is just like Mermaidville, right? So in order to do this and work with a bead, these have 2 holes, but with any bead, you have to have some familiarity with how they sew together. And the way to do this when you get a new bead, or the way I do it, is to push stuff around on my mat. I know where the thread paths go and the direction that they go. So I can do something like this. I can take my Ginkgo beads, for instance, and I know that they will fit together in certain ways. And I play with them on my mat just like this and think, okay, this is working out really cool. And I can start to play with some of the other finishes and colors, like I did with this, where I have the polychrome ones, and they really, that color really sets off the backlit. So where that led me from this, and this is going to be like a really wild ride, you guys, just from thing to thing to thing, because that's how I invent. Hi everyone, thanks for checking in. Samantha, hi. I know, aren't these backlits amazing? So anyway, so I started putting them together and realized that if I had another surface, I'm going to get some out. The polychrome, the solid matte here. And I just started to play with them, and then I wanted to do patterns. So I did this first, and it was pretty easy to figure out, just to put it together. Then I did this, where I just alternated them. I was trying to create like multiple diamonds here. So I'm just taking you through my journey, you guys. I'm just showing you how my brain worked, where I was just pushing them around without sewing them together yet, so that I could see how they just looked. Now, sewing them together, that's sort of a different story. Because they have 2 holes, I found that when I was working with them, you have to do turnarounds, and the thread might show on the outside, and I was going back and forth and using my little picot beads to do the turnarounds, and I realized that using a 2-needle approach really worked for me. So I'm going to just go right there and take some thread. I don't know who will be stocking them in the UK, Samantha. It does look like a dragon. Kelly, hi, thanks for tuning in. Let's do this. I'm just going to cut a piece of thread and do a little sewing. It's kind of off the cuff here. And where I'm going to lead with this is, once I get to a certain point where I have a piece created, I had to try to figure out like how to put a finding onto it and what kind of an an ending I could put onto it? Did I want a bracelet? Did I want an earring? Did I want a necklace or a pendant? Where's my other needles here? I don't worry about being too neat when I'm in this part of it, for sure. How about you guys? Do you who are watching, does your bead mat get like really, really messy? Mine does. Plus I end up with my staging area shrinking because I have like piles of stuff, and pretty soon I'm like working in this little thing. Hey, thanks, Kelly. These colors just seem to speak to everyone. And you know, the Ginkgo shape is such like a mermaid scale kind of a thing. Or a dragon. Who said that? Samantha said they look like a dragon. Let me try to thread my needle. I'm holding it out of frame so I can see it. Ugh! So the backlit Ginkgos will be available. Thank you, Stephen, for letting us know. These are pretty new. I only have 3 colors, and when I started playing around with them, I only had this one color. Which is Backlit Petroleum. Woohoo! Okay, so I have 2 needles now. Let's do this. I'm going to start from the wide end of a Ginkgo, like this, and pulling my thread up. Now the thread can sort of be hidden a little bit as it wraps around this way. But I want to show you first how I do a turnaround with the little picot 15s. So anyway, here, let's see if I can get this closer so you can see what I'm doing. Where are you? Okay. So you can see I have my thread coming out from the 2 holes. And if you remember how I had this set up, I'm going to sew through the left side of the Ginkgo that goes on the right, and the right hole that goes on the Ginkgo that's going to be on the left. And again, playing with these, there you go. Ta-da! Now, if you want to add a 4th one, I mean, you have a component right away. It's really exciting to play with these because you get something that looks like something, even with just 4 of these little beauties. It's pretty cool. So you can see I took my right thread, and this is a center Ginkgo, so I went through the right hole this time. And now I'm going to take my left thread, and I'm going to go through that other hole, and I'm going to pull these 4 Ginkgo beads together, and you start to get a really good feeling for how these nestle like a mosaic. Now right there is a component. It was very satisfying, but this led to this by coming up out of the upper Ginkgos and making my little picot and turning around. So let's show you how this becomes this with the little 15s or 11s. Now I'm looking at this, let's just say these are these 4 beads right here. And I apologize for not shouting out to everybody that's watching, but I'm trying to pay attention to my beading on the screen and not the scrolling names. But thank you all so much for tuning in. It's just really, really fun to share my process with you guys. All right, now I'm going to want to have a Ginkgo here and a Ginkgo here, right? So let's see how that works. With my thread coming out here, let's see. I'm going to want to sew through the left side of this Ginkgo. I'm trying to remember how I did this. Okay, so suppose I want to do a turnaround here. To go back, I'm going to pick up a 15 And I'm going to sew straight back into the hole that I just came out of, that I just exited, and go all the way through my piece. Do you see where that little 15 is? There we go. See where that little 15 is there? So by doing that, when I need to turn around, I can do it here now too. I can go up and down and back and forth through the two holes of the Ginkgos in order to hide my thread by making the little picots like this. So as I was playing around with this, I started to think about other components from the Cymbal line, this Cymbal line or family of metal fashion components, fashion elements. Now here's a piece. Suppose I was to attach this like that. And that looked pretty cool. This is, I believe, the Draconis ending, and it was actually designed initially to work really well with silkies, which it does, but it also can work with other things. Now I'm thinking, all right, this is on the round side, but it might fit better on the tip side. So let's turn the piece around and just put it over there. And, that would work really cool. Now, I would go now and do another piece, not put the little picot beads on the top, and that's what led to this. So you can sort of, are you following me, the transition a little bit of these things to, from one to another, from this to this to this. So when I got to this, I started to explore other Cymbal elements, and I went through my bag and I found these. Now the first thing that jumped out at me when I was looking through some of the things, because I'm lucky in this job, I have all this stuff available to me right away. What do the shapes look like here? How about, don't they look like the Ginkgos? I mean, they look like overlapping scales. It was such a natural thing. This component, this fashion element, was designed originally for size 8 beads. The size of the little legs here are for size 8s, and the spacing in between the openings of the arches was also designed to fit a certain number of size 8s. But I could not resist because, dang, I mean, these look so much like Ginkgos. So I started to play with the Ginkgos, and I wanted to bring in another element. Now I love GemDuos because their symmetrical shape really allows them to fit with a lot of other beads. So I just started to play with the GemDuos and the Ginkgos, and here's what I ended up doing with the Draconis ending and the Ginkgos and a couple GemDuos, and you can see that I've done my turnarounds with the little 15s, and I worked with 2 needles going up, back and forth and around, and I promise I will try to write this stuff up. And I ended up with what I thought would be a bracelet or a great strap for a pendant. Now, I went back to this, and I thought, wow, I could just attach my beads to this and have a strap and another strap and a little jump ring and maybe some beadwork, and now I have a necklace. But because I'm kind of a person who likes instant gratification, and with the definite encouragement and approval of people in the office, my partner in crime, Leslie Pope, Stephen Weiss, a bunch of people, here's earrings. Ta-da! I am in the process, I started today, of writing up this as a project. But the purpose of this Facebook Live was really just to kind of show you my journey a little bit and how one thing leads to another, and you have to see what the rest of my workspace looks like. It's like just a mess. Oh, and here's another thing, my tip. I knew, remember I said I laid these beads out without stitching them together, right? So what I did after I made the earring, and I couldn't remember how I did it, I took a picture, a few pictures like this, and I drew on it, because I know the thread path, where the holes go. I started to say, well, let's see, if I start here and went up and made my picot and came around and went up and back and down, and I played with it a couple different ways so that I could learn how to do the thread path. So this is really an easy and wonderful thing that you can do when you work with components and you don't want to spend the time yet, or you're not sure about how you're going to use these, or you're trying to figure things out. And beading is very labor intensive. Don't we all know it? It's a love-hate relationship, right? So make a component or two, lay them on your copier, make a bunch of pictures, cut them out, move them around, play with a pencil or a marker on it to give yourself some idea of how you might be able to put things together. And there you have it. Are there questions out there? People are liking that idea of making the paper copies and working things out just as a time saver. But nothing beats, when you're playing with your beads, taking a needle and thread, sewing them together. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can see all my little threads and things that are all hanging here. Oh yeah, I did this too. What if I did it on a diagonal? So I started to play. Can you guys see that? There we go. And I'm not real happy yet with the way the 15s are sitting here, and I think I want to have 2 rows of Ginkgos instead of the 1, but still, this is another idea for another day. Look for the mermaid earrings to be the first out of my Adobe Illustrator workshop, and happy beading. We love beads. I'm Leslie Rogalski saying you can find the Cymbal metal fashion elements and all these beads plus other cool tools and supplies from the BeadSmith at your favorite bead reseller. Bye!